stop overreacting to the Fortnite World Cup results. The World Cup happened about 10 days ago now, and of course it was a spectacle, amazing to watch. So many lives were changed as a result of the event. Obviously for people who just went to watch the event, they obviously explained how positive the environment was, how fun of an experience it was to attend, and obviously I'm sure everybody who's watching this video, everybody who heard anything about the World Cup would probably love to go and see the next one, which happens next year. Now, of course, in the days after the event, I've seen many people label certain players based on purely off of the results from that event, and I've obviously that's kind of bothered me because I've realized that you can't label a team or a player purely based off of one event. And the example that I specifically want to get into is the duo champions. Now, Narox and Aqua, who won the Fortnite World Cup duos, are both amazing players, and objectively speaking, they are not the best duo in the world. They've never been the best duo in the world, and it's a large exaggeration to call them the best duo in the world based off of just the Fortnite World Cup. Now, in no other sport or esport in the world do we see a team win one event and instantly be labelled the best team in the world. Now, there may be a specific event where they performed the best, or a specific tournament where in that tournament specifically a team may be the best in that tournament, but overall we don't see a team be called the best overall team based off of purely one event. Now, the best example I have of this would be in English football. Now, in 2018, as much as it hurts to say it as a Manchester United fan, the best team in England was Manchester City. They dominated the league, finishing 19 points above second place, and simply doing the eye test, they were a class above. They were in a class of their own. They were the best team easily, just purely objectively from the eye test. You could see watching them, they were the best team. Now, of course, you may wonder, if they were the best team and they dominated the league, how come they didn't win the FA Cup? And the FA Cup is the second most prestigious English football award. And obviously, if they didn't win the FA Cup, but they are easily the best team, then how does that happen? How do you have a situation in which that happens? Now, if you don't understand football, you may not understand this. So obviously, if you do understand football, you probably will understand this already. And, you may be starting to connect the dots. But essentially, the team that even won the FA Cup that year, Chelsea, aren't considered the best, and in most cases the team that wins the FA Cup are never considered the best team. And in Chelsea's case, they don't even have an argument. Well, that year specifically, they didn't even have an argument for being the best team even after winning the FA Cup. Now, simply put, the reason this happens is that due to formats of the different competitions, teams often prioritize one event over the other. A team might prioritize the Premier League over the FA Cup, etc. And obviously with the FA Cup, it being a knockout format, you're often punished for having a slow start. So sometimes you may see a team that's really good not take it as seriously towards the beginning when they are facing lower seeded teams, and then they're knocked out, etc, etc. Now, obviously, that's not to discredit the format of that event, but obviously just the nature of it, you don't often come out with the best team. Like, the best team doesn't necessarily win it every year, and this directly applies to Fortnite and the Fortnite World Cup. Because as a result of the event being only 6 games and the point system being the way it is, it was always likely that a team / player that came out on top wasn't going to actually be the best team / player in the world. I was going to write an article about this, but unfortunately I wasn't able to put it out. And obviously, if you look specifically at the Fortnite World Cup as well, when you have factors like server lag, which players complained about, and other factors, to do with just the actual specific format of the event itself, you often see that this means that, players were not practicing in an environment that they were ready for. And obviously that means that the results were always going to be somewhat RNG, Even if you look back at the event, the standings were so volatile, the winners themselves, Narox and Aqua, had a terrible first 3 games. And after the last 3 games, they were able to shoot up into first place. Now, I don't say this to discredit anybody. If you did well at the Fortnite World Cup, you deserve the praise you're getting because, you were the best or one of the best at that event specifically. And obviously what I'm saying doesn't always apply, because in the case of Sentinel's Booga, who also won the Solo World Cup in the fashion that he did, when you dominate like that, you of course have a very, very good case to be considered the best in the world. Now, right now, if you were to say to me, Booga is the best solo player in the world, I wouldn't look at you sideways, because based off of his performance there in the dominating fashion, as well as other factors, you know, leading up to the World Cup, his performances, I'd say to you, yeah, it's very valid for you to say he's the best solo player in the world. I may disagree with you, and I may give you someone else who I think is better, but, you know, you still have a strong argument there. And obviously, for example, in solos, it does work both ways, because even in solos, looking at Phage Mongrel, for example, he didn't get any points in the first 3 games, right? Now, he obviously did start to heat up after the first 3 games. The last 3 games, he performed very well. You know, he had that famous clutch play where he popped off in the end game and got 2nd place. But, you know, maybe if in a tournament where he has maybe 3 more games on top of the 6 games, maybe you see him rise up the standings a bit more, because he got 13th after getting 0 points in the first 3 games. So, you know, you never know. Maybe he rises up slowly. Of course, that is an unknown. And, you know, the fact that you have all these potential unknowns testifies to why you cannot label a team based off the one event. You know, things easily, you know, go a tiny bit differently, and we have completely different standings, you know. In the case of the duo finals, we saw the last game, you know, accounted for a lot of the standings, like based off of the kills, where people placed and where people died. It made a big deal for the standings. I have a duo breakdown with Somebody's Gun coming out pretty soon, and, you know, we kind of elaborate to that on how certain plays and different positionings and kills heavily determined the results of the Duo World Cup. And now, obviously, in the case of Narox and Aqua, who I began with, you know, this is incredibly fitting, because obviously now we know that they split up as a duo, and even though there's no longer duo competitions going on, the fact that Aqua and Narox split shows, you know, that there was something there, and that they clearly weren't the best duo in the world, because obviously if you were the best duo in the world, you most likely wouldn't split after winning the biggest competition in the world. Now Aqua got a lot of backlash for this decision, and people clapped back at him on Twitter, you know, saying, why would you leave Narox? You guys are the best duo in the world, etc. Well, if the so-called best duo in the world split, there's clearly something that you, as a viewer and a fan, didn't know about their duo. Something clearly didn't work, the dynamics within their duo, you know, and Aqua released a statement about it. You know, he just felt like he needed to move on. Clearly there's something there, you know. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, you know. For somebody to assume that this came out of nowhere, he did it for no reason, or that he's some sort of clown for making this decision, is completely ludicrous. If you like the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, drop a comment below. I'm always active. Also follow me on Twitter, I'm always active there. Thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed.